This is Duke University.
Global trade and environmental justice.
Human rights issues are still.
The term Ubuntu.
About the Alien and Sedition Acts.
Is making inferential discovery.
The importance of an archive.
The John Hope Franklin Center.
Now, of course, the key issue that was more hotly debated both outside and inside South Africa was whether it's really worth it, right? Couldn't the money that was spent, and a huge amount of state money, obviously, went into develop building stadiums, infrastructure development, could this money have been spent better on other things? Schools, housing, healthcare, the fight against AIDS. Does South Africa really need all these immense stadiums, right? They have to build several new ones for the competition, world-class stadiums. What's going to happen to these stadiums? Will they be used afterwards? And what about all the money, of course, that goes sloshing around between FIFA and political class and elites in the context of preparing these events? Now, these are really important debates. I'll show you a couple of things. First of all, is that they're present for every country that's hosted. Like, the world is actually full of cities that are full of empty stadiums built long enough to host Olympics or World Cups. Montreal, Vancouver, Beijing. So there's a sense in which this is a common problem, not unique to South Africa, although it took a particular cast perhaps in South Africa. What I'll say about this debate, it's not to sort of close off the debate, but having thought about it a lot, I think in some ways it's a kind of fundamentally irresolvable one, in part because while politicians always tout the kind of economic benefits a country gains from sporting events, in fact, if you look carefully at it, it's really not very justifiable in almost every case that the country sort of spends more than it gains to host one of these sporting events. And in some ways, the reason they do it is not because of what they claim to be doing it, but it's simply because of the kind of irrefusable attraction of the symbolic capital that comes with these events, right? It's the kind of the domain of the symbolic that really draws, I think, political classes to these events. And the problem is that I've never come across an accountant who's figured out how to line up on a balance sheet, symbolic capital and actual capital, right? How to figure out whether one pays for the other or not. And it's not necessarily that the truth is in between. I think in some ways that both arguments are correct in their extreme version. If that might be a strange thing to say, but there's a way in which it's both correct that this is obviously a waste of money and can't really be justified, and at the same time that it's a wonderful and perfectly beautiful thing for a country to do. So both of those arguments, I think, can be sustained very well. Now, I remember thinking about this a lot the first game I attended in South Africa, Argentina, Mexico, in Soccer City. And Achille and I were talking about these things, and we met on the bus a young South African boy, about 10 years old, who was on his way, I think, to his 5th game already, with his very sort of tired father, right, who was going around the country with him seeing all these games. It was 8:30 at night. It was going to be a long night for at least for the father. I don't think for the son, but. And there was this kind of conversation with this kid, and in an odd way, this whole swirling calculus kind of clarified. After all, he would have never seen any of these games without the World Cup in South Africa. And the question is, how does one measure that or that impact, especially then multiply on the way that experience percolates within South African society.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.